All right.
Right.
Welcome to RepTales Volume 4.
Nice. I like how you mark them volumes, like which one it is. I like how I keep things in check.
And,
Well, I'm pretty excited tonight. We're all sitting around. We're a group of fish keepers that have reptiles. We started this stream. We're going to have it weekly to talk about herps on Friday night at 7:30 Eastern. So whether you're considering getting a reptile, or if you're a beginner, or if you've been having reptiles for a long time, or don't even have reptiles and just want to hear about reptiles, stay tuned to RepTales. That's where we're going to share our own herpetology adventures, interview special guests. We're going to do Q&As throughout the stream. And tonight, I'm very excited. We have a very special guest all the way from Wisconsin, right?
The frozen tundra.
Woo! Wally Kern from Supreme Geckos, also known as the Podfather. He is a lot more than isopods. He's all about geckos as well as the isopods. And if you're looking for some information on geckos, whether they're crested, leopard, or other kinds, talk to Wally. So let's go take a look at what Wally's brought with him, and let's get your questions ready. Welcome, Wally, to RepTales.
This is like show and tell. I normally don't ever do this. When I do a podcast or a live video on my channel, I hardly ever really show off the geckos, and that's a problem. So today I brought some geckos. Now, like I was telling the group earlier, they're going to be running all over the place, so I'm going to lose control of this whole situation in like 5 minutes. They're going to jump. They're just going to do everything to me.
And you're okay? They're in a safe room? We're not putting them in danger, are we?
No, never, ever would I do that. Thanks for having me, group.
Oh my God.
Thanks for coming.
welcome.
Very, very much.
You came up.
Now, when I got introduced to you, I thought you were all about just isopods, which happened to be great because I have 20 plus enclosures and almost all of them are bioactive. But then I started really watching you in the net, and I was like, wow, you got some beautiful animals. And then I saw you're a vendor at shows. I'm like, what? And then I met you in person at, was it Aquatic Experience or Aquashella?
I think it was Aquashella.
So I was like, this is so awesome. So I'm very, very excited that you were willing to come on our little show here and talk about what you do, what you have, why you do it.
It's my pleasure entirely. And I am all about isopods. And I'm all about geckos.
Nice. They kind of go together.
I'm all about fish, too. So if you don't mind, I'll give you a real quick little history of Wally Kern.
Absolutely.
When I was a kid, about 160 years ago, I used to go down to the stream and collect tadpoles and crayfish and just whatever I could find and watch the tadpoles grow and the crayfish molt. And it was just a blast. So off of there, we moved to a lake when I was probably about 13. And I started keeping fish, just general fish like bluegills and bass in aquariums. Loved it. Excuse me, started fishing a lot and just got absorbed. I got into a lot of problems when I was a young teenager, and because of the move and the fishing, it kind of brought me back to reality. So I grew up, I moved away from the parents, moved to Milwaukee, and the fish tank went into their basement, and about 5 or 6 years later, hey, Wally, you've got all your stuff over at our house. Come and pick it up. No, just throw them in the dumpster. Throw everything, my school books, my skates, just throw them in the dumpster. So certainly, my dad that weekend came up with the van full of stuff. And one of the things in the van was a tank. I set it up again and started keeping tropical fish. My very first fish was crabenzas. And as you know, the crabenzas, as soon as I put them out, took them out of the bag and dumped them into the tank, they were already breeding and had fry within like minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. They were guarding fry. That's what crabenzas do. So one tank became 2 tanks. And then all of a sudden, the fish were breeding, the tanks were breeding. So 2 tanks became 4 tanks, 4 tanks became 8 tanks. And it wasn't long before our little 1-bedroom apartment had, I think we were up to like 15 or 16 tanks, all over the place. So 2 years in that apartment, and we started looking for a house. And my wife would look at the kitchen and the bathroom, and I got to see the basement. Got to see the basement. So we moved into a house, and it wasn't but about a year later, I had 125 aquariums set up, and I was keeping Lake Victorian and pistos and live bears and killifish and Lake Tanganyikans, shell dwellers. I was just all over the place. And again, this was probably about 25 or 30 years ago. Loved the small fish. Loved them, loved them, loved them. We had our third son, and he had some health issues. I had discus breeding. Everything was going well until I couldn't go down and other than just, go down and throw the food in the tanks and go to the hospital. It was about 2 weeks, and I came down one day, and the discus that were guarding fry in 4 different tanks were all on their side on the bottom of the tanks, and several other fish were gone. So I had to make the decision between career, family, and fish, and I knew that I could keep 2 of them. Family wasn't going anywhere, and being the non-committal type of person that I was at the time, I dropped the fish and focused on career. And I never ever looked back. I really enjoyed what I was doing at the time. But all the fish tanks, 125, a half horsepower motor, tanks of Tropheus, everything went in one weekend. A lot of Chicago folks came up and helped me out, and everything was gone out of the basement in one weekend. So it was years and years later. I kept orchids for a long time, and I kept other things, but I had to have something breeding. It was just in my blood. If I was not going to be in IT professionally, I probably would have been a farmer and raising cattle or pigs or chickens or something. So about 20 years ago, I started keeping reptiles. And I knew that if I got into fish again, it would just blow up just like it did before. So I started keeping reptiles, and I kept a pair of leopard geckos. They bred. 2 animals became 20 animals. 1 enclosure became 20 enclosures. Wow. And today we have probably over 700-800 enclosures downstairs. And I know you're going to ask this question. I'll preempt it by saying I have no flippant idea how many geckos we have downstairs. Lots and lots of babies, probably 2,000, 3,000 animals. Lots of babies. It keeps us busy.
I can't even imagine. Yeah. Any fish tanks? None?
I don't know if, in fact, I wanted to turn off my pump. I don't know if you can hear my pump, but I set up about 2 years ago, I set up 18 tanks that are all 5s and 10s, and the one tank right behind me, see if I can do this the right way, right behind me, that's, I don't know, what is that, a 30? So I'm keeping killifish and live bears and the same stuff that I kept.
How can you possibly keep up with all those tanks?
I'm crazy.
And go to shows.
Certifiable. I do a lot of social media and answering questions and processing orders, at night. So my routine is I get up in the morning, I feed, I take care of, and then I come back, and if I have a video to do that day, then I focus on the videos. But eventually, at night, I start doing the social media. So there's a lot of parts of the business that really keep me going, but my day is full. So about 3 years ago, I quit my job, and the 2 years before that, I was working about 70 to 80 hours a week, and it just got to be too much. And now that I'm, again, 160 years old, it just was too much for me. I quit. I walked out, and I thought maybe I can do this reptile thing, and it's really worked out so far. I'm working more hours now, but every single minute that I'm down in the facility is a blast. I argue with the manager and the owner sometimes, but then again, I'm kind of crazy, and I'll argue with myself all the time. So,
so you are the manager, and then I was like, "Why, you have employees?"
Yes, I am.
Wow, that's impressive.
A little insane. You wanted to say insane.
I did, but then I realized I'm not far from. I mean, I don't have hundreds, but
It's a lot of fun. I keep certain animals for the business. I was bringing out a crested gecko a little bit earlier, and we'll see if you'll stay on my shirt here. It's got plenty of room to roam on my shirt. So this is one of my mainstay animals for the business. I love crested geckos. And I'll bring out a gargoyle in just a couple of minutes here. He's going to jump and get away from me. But I like all kinds of weird geckos that like nobody else knows anything about. You know, the kind of rare stuff. I've got a couple of animals that myself and probably two, maybe not even that, other people in the States have. I just like the rare, weird stuff. So it keeps me busy.
What kind of tanks? Like what size house? I'm trying to visualize, but I know baby geckos, they don't need a huge tank, but I can't even visualize it.
Exactly. So a lot of the babies are kept in long 6 quarts. I'll raise them up. As an example, this little crested gecko I have in a 19 quart, and he will be moved to an adult enclosure of about 56 quarts in probably the next couple of weeks to grow out even further and be breeding by a year to a year and a half from now. But they start off with 6 quarts. I just did a video on this. They start off in 6 quarts because they're little tiny babies. Makes me think of you, TikTok. I'm just a baby. And they start off with these little 6 quarts, move to 19 quarts, and then the crested geckos will move to adult enclosures of about 60 quarts or so. Somewhere around there.
Now, any of those hundreds bioactive? Because
I do both.
They couldn't be. You'd be cleaning poop all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. I do both. I have, probably about 40 enclosures that are bioactive. I have 2 upstairs, and I don't know if I can move. Here's one right here that's bioactive. You can't see it, but it's a 18 by 18 by 18. I have an 18 by 18 by 24 in our bedroom with day geckos that run around and bother us at night all the time. But I try to do bioactive whenever I can, especially for the micro geckos, because the dwarf whites that are great for bioactive, I'll see occasionally the micro geckos go down to the substrate and pick off the dwarf whites. So it's another source of food for them.
Micro geckos, is that different than a morning gecko?
It's very, very similar. So I would consider a morning gecko to be a micro gecko. I consider anything that's about 3 inches or so to be a micro, or shorter, smaller, to be a micro gecko.
Okay.
And I keep probably about 20 or so different species of micro geckos. Maybe not that many, maybe 15. I just did a count of the different species that we keep, different types of geckos, and I think we're up to about 60 different species. I just did a count of.
Wow. Did you say 60?
About 60 different species, yes.
Species, wow. So up till a minute ago, I was going to say I'm a breeder of crested geckos, but I'm never going to say that again in your presence. So what happened is I had a male and female in one enclosure, and I just happened to see a baby walking around. I didn't actually breed them. I wasn't trying. And so I scooped them out of there and put them in a smaller, and I found another egg in there that was like shriveled up, gone. So I figure, okay, I'm going to say I'm a breeder, even though I didn't do anything at all.
But I work with people all day long on gecko questions, and everybody is learning. I'm learning all the time. Quick shout out to Frank the Tank. Thanks for joining us. Every day, I feel like I learn something every day. Wow. So it doesn't matter if you have a pair or if you have 10 or 20. You are a breeder if they breed.
Do you have a? I'm sorry, Susie. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if they lay their eggs and it's a bioactive, so there's 6 inches of substrate. Can I just leave them in there? Like I don't have to dig out eggs, right? I can just leave them be, or will they eat them?
They probably will eat them. I've had situations where I've had plants in tanks and they'll bury their eggs in the substrate of the plants, and I see little heads popping up out of the substrate. But it's rare to find babies in an adult enclosure.
Okay.
Very rare. So we'll pull them out. So we have hide boxes in every single one of our crested gecko enclosures. and this is poppy seed. So I'm going to, once he settles down just a little bit, I'll show him a little bit better here. But we have hides, little tall sandwich boxes in every one of our crested gecko hide enclosures, and they'll lay the eggs in there. And then we go through, once a week, and we feed every other day, and we'll go through once a week and we'll check for eggs, pull the eggs and put them in little bead boxes. And my granddaughter goes down and checks the bead boxes every day looking for babies. And is now she's 11 years old. She's now helping us put the geckos away. So, yeah, a lot of activity. See if we can get a focus on this one.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Maybe a focus. There we go.
It almost looks like a Dalmatian. What kind is he?
It is a Dalmatian. I wouldn't call this a super Dalmatian. Somebody named this one Poppy Seed because of the Dalmatians at one of our shows. But he goes to the shows with us when we can take a gecko. You just stay right there.
All right, you guys can ask questions. I'm sorry. I know because I'm just so fascinated by what this man is doing. You and your wife, it's a team, and you have no employees.
We don't. Except for Crystal, our 11-year-old granddaughter. I pay her in candy, so that works out pretty well. But then again, I get paid in chocolate chip cookies, so
she knows how to get you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It works out for me. Nanette my wife does all the shipping. She does the bugs. So over the years, I've developed an allergy. So Nanette will take care of the bug room. We have a bug room, to try to cut the costs of feeding these animals. So we have 8 to 10 bins of dubias, and we have lots and lots and lots of mealworms, and we also bring in crickets all the time. So when I bring in feeders, I'll bring in 40,000 mealworms at a time. I'll bring in 10,000 crickets, and the 10,000 crickets is a every other week kind of thing.
Now, I've heard of people being allergic to the dubia roaches. Is that what or you don't know, or you're just allergic to something?
I am allergic to dubia. So the mealworms don't do anything. I'm actually allergic to crested gecko. So by the end of the show, my hand will get a little tiny. It's more of an irritant than it is, anything else. It'll just get a little itchy. But dubias, I'll if I'm working with dubias downstairs, by the time half hour later, I'll really be struggling for breath. So my wife has taken over the dubias and the bug room and the shipping. But once in a while, I'll ask her to help me with the feeding, and she helps obviously with the YouTube videos. She does a great job with the YouTube videos as well.
When you were talking about the every day, the teaching and the learning and interacting daily, I was curious if you have like a reptile society or club that you're involved with locally there.
We do. We have a great club, Madison Area Herpetological Society, but I'm about a little over an hour away from them. I might be speaking with them in September, but it's hard for me to get over there. We have a Milwaukee chapter as well, but they haven't had, because of everything else going on, they haven't, I don't think that they've started back up again. I get a lot of questions on our YouTube videos. I get a lot of questions through Facebook, Instagram, and now I'm getting a lot of questions through TikTok.
How do you like TikTok?
You do or don't?
How do you like it?
I don't dance, so I get like 3 views for every video, so I've got that going for me.
Maybe you should try dancing. I think it would be a hit.
Maybe I shouldn't, Susie. Maybe I shouldn't.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Frank asked me to dance all the time. So there you go, Frank.
You saw it? I saw it, Frank. I saw it.
You mentioned the morning geckos. Do you, I heard you say that somebody else predates on them, but do you sell those as a food item?
I don't as a food item. This guy isn't going to focus for anything. I don't as a food item. And in fact, I breed a couple of different geckos, and I don't sell them as food items. I found out that somebody was years ago that was looking for a specific gecko, and I said, "What are you selling to stores, wholesaling at reptile shows. No, we're going to sell them as feeders, and I don't have any issues with. I don't have issues with other people doing that because that's what happens in nature. I just couldn't do it with our animals, so I
Right.
declined. Yeah.
Right.
When you hold the animal up, I think if you cover your face, because I think the cameras always cover, trying to
Maybe I
focus.
should just cover my face all the time.
I just see fancy people do that. They go like that. That's a beautiful, beautiful gecko.
I'm going to bring out this one, and let's see if any of our viewers here tonight can guess what this gecko is. Now,
Get
this
ready,
was
guys. Get ready.
This was a mention in the comments. Who can be the first one to identify this gecko? I rescued this gecko probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So let's see if we can get a focus on this one. Hopefully that's focusing,
he's
and hopefully it
great,
doesn't
whatever he
fall
is.
off my hand.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Wow.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Oh, he's
I
so
cover my
pretty.
face and I can't see the screen, Susie. So
Wow. He's beautiful.
thank you very much.
Those
Is
eyes
there-
are so dark and black. Wow.
Thank you. Now he
Beautiful
has
color.
colored up. He's fired up because he's been in this cup now for about an hour. Normally he's a little bit lighter, and normally he's with his girlfriend, and she looks just way different than him. Real light, lighter brown. It's really a cool gecko.
Frank said it's a dog.
It is a dog. Yes, it's a dog gecko. So points for Frank. There we go. There we go. Frank nailed it. Fat tail. So this is the African fat tail. I used to have about a dozen of these, and now I'm down to 2 simply because I'm focusing on other animals and I'm kind of watching my resources and what I can do legitimately. I kind of stay with, and the other animals I just have to not work with anymore. So that was a fat tail. Very healthy, very calm. So anybody looking into getting some geckos, look at those eyes.
That's a giveaway for me, those big black eyes. Ooh.
They're just so docile, and talk about setting up a bioactive. Fat tails love bioactives.
What size would you set up? What size would be a good tank size for an African fat tail?
I always go with a 20 long for leopard geckos or for fat tails. 20 longs are just absolutely perfect.
Oh, beautiful.
Patrick, right on. Way to go.
Are there
Ready for
any?
another gecko?
Do you have any local geckos? What's in the wild there?
Yeah, I don't have any local reptiles whatsoever. There's not a great, selection of. There's plenty of reptiles that are locally, occur locally. I haven't obtained any because again, I have limited resources and just can do so much.
Right.
But I know some people that have, we have, and I don't even know if this is legal or not, from restrictions in their limit of how their range and everything. But hognose snakes, I know, occur locally, timber rattlers. But here in Wisconsin, everything kind of freezes in the winter, so it limits
Yeah.
quite
My
a bit.
dream snake, a hognose, Western hognose is my dream snake. If John Bag of Donuts wasn't going to exile me if I brought a snake in the house, that's what I would get.
Can't you sneak one in? He can't get mad at you if he doesn't know.
Be a
Well-
sneaky snake.
Yeah. And Underground Reptile has a tricolored hognose for sale right now.
Oh my gosh. So you're after the show, you're getting that?
I want to get it. I've never even held a snake.
I'm going to see if this works. This one has been a little bit chumpy. Oh, can you see him?
Oh, isn't he so pretty?
Beautiful.
Not a great angle there, but
Look at those colors.
thank you.
It's yellow, orange. What?
Thank you.
Wow.
This one's just settling down. Anyone? What is this? Susie, you know what this one is.
I was gonna say I know it's like a leopard gecko, but I don't know what kind.
It's a carrot tail tangerine, and it's actually has been bred to an albino, so it's called a tangerine sun glow. Yeah, I know it. But
that's good though. But I did know the leopard gecko part, but I didn't know if breeders get very specific on what the spots mean.
I used to breed. Why are we always yelling? Says, oops, I missed it. Somebody said it's a lemon, not a leopard. BJ Palmer said that. Okay, this next gecko I'm going to try to bring out because it's kind of cool color, but it's pretty wild too. So I'm going to work with it a little bit in this little cup that I have here. So bear with me. Any other questions?
Oh my! Your door just opened. You have a ghost that just came in your room.
I probably have the dog. The dog probably just came in. or it's a ghost. That's one of the geckos that got away from me. It just opened and it's going back downstairs. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi.
Come in and say hi.
I hear you help out in the reptile room a lot.
I do.
How do you like it?
Good. And we have a 1-year-old puppy.
Oh.
A big old baby.
He's a big baby and he's a bear because he gets into everything.
So let me tell you, Crystal, about what minimum wage is, okay? You and I are going to talk after.
Oh, we're going. We're losing you. We're losing you.
Lost the signal.
He's right here.
Oh, that's so
Crystal,
funny.
what do I pay you for working downstairs?
Some money.
I pay you money?
No, you don't.
That's what I should pay you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't, do I?
That was my dad.
Hi, Crystal's dad.
This one's still jumpy, so I'm going to keep working with it, but...
Okay. How long does it take to work? Because I don't handle my crested geckos at all. So how long does it take for me to get one to be handleable?
Not really that long. So we'll do these reptile shows, and I'll bring out a gecko somebody will say, can I hold that crested gecko? And if it's small, I usually decline because they're pretty fast and they're jumpy.
Like
or I'll hold it myself, like that one right there. But if it's an adult, I'll bring it out and I'll say, give me just a minute. And it jumps from my hand to my hand probably about 4 times, and it's ready. And I always stay by the person and I guide them. And 99 out of 100 times, they do a great job.
Oh.
Let's see if we can get this one up.
Oh my gosh.
Still really jumpy.
Oh.
Come on.
Look at it. It's like a velvet red.
And it's not going to focus, is it? Stop looking at me, camera. No, it's not going to focus. Come on.
That's
okay, we'll try this one more time.
Is that the gargoyle?
This is a gargoyle.
Oh, good one. Who
there
said
we
that?
go.
There it is.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
Thank you.
Look at the fingernails even are dark red. Wow. Now, was he that color when he was born?
He was not. He was not even close to this. Usually gargoyles will start showing their colors at about a year or so. Sorry, can't get this guy to settle down here. Maybe.
Settle down, gargoyle.
You tell him, Crystal.
So how do you sell them at shows if they're not colored up? Like if people don't realize, oh, there you go. You got it.
Okay.
Did I say that?
Oh, I lost all my lights. 7 o'clock, lights automatically go off. I try really, really super hard to get them to fire up. There's certain tricks that you can use to fire up crested geckos and gargoyle geckos.
Keep her hang.
Gargoyles are awesome. Exactly. So what you can do is you can put them in the deli cups, moisten them up, put them in the dark, put a little bit of heat on them, and they'll usually fire up in about half hour to an hour. And generally, I'll bring them out. We'll do all that. We'll bring them to the show. We'll put them on the table. And by the time we have, people coming in the doors, they'll most of the time be fired up.
Watch out.
Wow, that's pretty
Oh,
impressive.
no.
That's
It's trying to get out of the tub.
Did you ever have anybody try to steal one of your animals while you're at a show?
Years and years ago, I had a father and son walk up to the table, and I was helping an older couple, and turned back to them and said, "I'll be with you right in just a minute." And I had probably about a $500 animal that they were looking at. Turned back to the older couple, spent probably 10 seconds with them, looked to my left, and the father and son were gone, and so was the gecko. Which was very frustrating for us.
Yeah.
And especially, that whole father's, showing an example to his son. It was so hard, as a keeper and breeder, and especially as a parent, to see something like that happen. But to be very honest, I try to have two people on the table at all times, and we're always watching. We'll probably install some security, cameras up to help out a little bit. It's something that we really haven't had that much of an issue with, to be very, very honest. Fortunately, knock on something.
Right. That's good.
I have a question.
Hi, Emily. Go ahead, Crystal. Crystal has a question. Do you mind if she asks?
No, go ahead.
How do you not put this one?
Oh, I'll hold that one in just a second. I'll go ahead and put this one away and let everybody kind of ask other questions.
Just do the baby.
Yeah.
Oh, it wants to go on your
It
office
does.
desk.
Keeper Kane asked, "Do you keep any leeches?"
I don't. I don't keep any leeches. Years and years and years ago, I made the decision to keep, from the New Caledonia animals, I decided to keep crested geckos like we saw, gargoyles, and I also at that time kept chihuahuas as well. I'd love to get into the Ceratosaurums. I don't really have an interest in keeping leeches. Wonderful animals, impressive to see, especially at shows, and to hold a big chunk of animal. But we saw the leopard gecko, we saw the crested, and leeches are about 10 times that big. I just don't have that interest to keep something that big. Again, I like shell dwellers, and I like, killifish, and I like pistogramma. So I like the smaller stuff. The gargoyle is about as big of an animal as I keep.
One of the questions is, which of the geckos do you think is the easiest to keep?
Crested geckos.
Why?
I actually did a show with another YouTuber that keeps leopard geckos, and it was fun. But we treated it like, it was kind of a competition, and we squared off, dropped the gloves and everything, and just had a blast with it. And I think it's crested geckos. He thought it was leopard geckos. But the one thing that we couldn't get past is crested geckos don't need special lighting or special heat. That's number one. And crested geckos will eat crested gecko diet. It's a powder. You mix it with water, and that simulates, replicates like fruits in nature, eating a fruit, which they eat a lot of figs. So, I can't get past that point as far as crested geckos being that much easier to keep than leopard geckos. Leopard geckos, you need heat on them, and you have to have live food. So here in Wisconsin, when it's 20 below, I'm running to the store to pick up 20 crickets for my leopard gecko.
So do both of them have the same humidity requirements?
Crested geckos need to be a little bit more humid. So for leopard geckos, you can have a water dish, and you can fill the water dish and replace it or clean it out and replace it when it gets dirty. Crested geckos, you just have to mist every other day. And it's as easy as that. So what I do is I'll feed on a Monday, I'll mist on a Tuesday, I'll go in and take that empty or that used uneaten food, if there's any left, Wednesday, and put in a new food dish, and then mist again Thursday.
And then what do you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Rinse and repeat.
Okay. You don't ever have a day of fasting. Well, you have so many babies.
Back in 97, I think we had a day, it was a Thursday, and I sat and watched the Flintstones all day.
It wasn't by accident.
What?
I got you.
I'll hold them right now, Crystal. Oops, can you get them for me? I just dropped the deli cup. Crystal's going to retrieve the gecko that's now sitting on the floor.
Lucky Smith said gargoyle geckos are better than crested geckos.
He's about to scream at me.
He'll be fine. What's that? Gargoyles are better than cresteds?
That's what Lucky Smith says.
Has he kept gargoyle geckos?
I don't know, but
It's interesting.
He wants to challenge you.
I think,
Can I see the lip?
sure. I think crested geckos are easier because they're easier to handle.
Get in here now.
Gargoyles need more protein, like more crickets and dubias and things like that. Gargoyles get a little bit bigger too. But that's a good question. They're about the same. Cresteds will be all over the enclosure at night. Gargoyles will be just off the ground on like tree trunks.
I can't get him.
Okay, I'm going to be right back. We haven't escaped.
Okay, go ahead. We're going to look through the chat and grab some more questions.
He's right
Here you go,
over
Jordan.
there. Dad.
What's that?
I'm going to look through the chat and look for more questions.
Okay.
BJ said, do they love figs also? The gargoyles love figs.
Gargoyles and cresteds and lychees all love figs. Absolutely. The diet, the Pangea, is made. There's one of the flavors that's fig, and it just works out perfect.
Looks like you have a little emergency there, don't you?
It's a little one, Jordan. It's that big.
So somebody, I forget who, I saw somebody suggesting the leftover after the second leftover feeding, give them to your insects. They love.
Oh, what a great point. So we'll collect all the dishes, stack them up, put in the new foods, and then with the old dishes, we'll just lay them right on top of the mealworms. When we're doing mealworms, just lay them right down on the mealworms, and that works out perfect.
Huh.
Jordan, you just unplugged me. Am I still there?
Yeah, we have your audio, but we have an EOS webcam utility.
What? I'll see if I can fix that.
And Padre, he's joining us from the Facebook side, says, Wally, have you
Going
seen?
by the picture, I would say something came unplugged. Maybe when the kids are looking for the escapee, something came unplugged.
This is amazing. Do you guys hear how many tanks he has? Holy cow. And now I thought I had a lot of reptiles and fish tanks. My reptiles and fish tanks together don't even pale in comparison to what he has. I don't feel so bad. Although he's probably making a living at it where I am not. Oh, wow. Emily, I had a few escape morning geckos as well. I've had a morning gecko escape out the back where the airline tube went in, and I didn't close that little enclosure all the way, and I couldn't find him. Never found him again. I figure either he went somewhere or got covered in dust bunnies.
Thank you, Grasshopper.
He's got a grasshopper. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
So what other questions do we have for when he comes back? This is good.
I saw one other one and it went by. Let's see if I can see it. Is that sunlight on Pam? Patty wants to know.
It looks like sunlight. Pam, you have sunshine on your face? I got sunshine. Oh, she's muted.
Oh yeah, I muted myself because I have a million fans on right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Emily, I'm amazed you found it too, because a baby morning gecko is tiny. It's tiny.
DJ,
It's dragon lair here. Yeah.
Dragon Lair is on Facebook.
Oh, cool. Hi, Dragon.
Did Patrick say he was going to come on and guest with us? No pressure, Patrick. I know we wanted him. Want him.
Not yet, I don't think.
So I want to see if he has other animals besides geckos. I know his title is Supreme Geckos, but he just might. That was me. He just might have other. I don't know if he can get back in.
No.
He's a trying. So out of the crested geckos, African fat-tailed geckos, lychees, all the different ones he's shown, what do you guys have? Or what do you guys like?
I
Do
have
you
the
have-
one leopard.
What color?
I don't know. It's just a leopard gecko. It
My
was
leopard gecko is yellow, all yellow,
I guess it's a cream or pink color.
with the dots on it.
Yeah, pretty dots.
Do you have crested?
Podrick said one of these days.
Mike, do you have any geckos?
One leopard gecko.
What color is yours? I guess it's called morph. I usually go by color.
Brown and white and black. And
So I have this one that's all yellow, and my daughter has one that's white. She somebody surrendered her to her, and I'm like, that's got to be pretty rare. I mean, it's beautiful, black eyes, but the whole gecko tail, everything is white.
That's how I got mine. Somebody surrendered it.
we have two from the Facebook side this week.
So when he comes back, Emily wants to know what's Wally's favorite critter he owns currently, and one that he's ever owned. Ah, that's a good question. That's a good question. But I would not personally say that the easiest reptile to keep would be a crested gecko because they're so jumpy. They
Yeah.
literally ding, ding, ding. My opinion, it'd be the Uromastyx is the easiest to keep. Low maintenance, no water.
Yep.
I mean, it's just so easy. It's just a lot of heat. That's it.
Chop that salad.
There he is.
Welcome back.
Hey!
Welcome back.
Get the emergency all taken care of.
Well, I think my middle son just probably unplugged the whole computer and everything looking for one little teeny tiny gecko. So sorry about that, folks. I apologize.
That's okay. Did you find him?
Yeah, they didn't want to pick it up because they were, and the gecko's about this big. It's so small. But we're okay now.
Okay,
I
good.
wanted to show you this, and go ahead if you have questions. I heard that I was in the back room for a while and heard that Emily might have a question.
Emily wants to know what's your favorite critter that you currently have or that you ever had.
Oh, Emily, you're like a mind reader. I swear to goodness, you're like a mind reader because I'm going to show you my favorite gecko. This is type. It's not specifically a gecko, and I'll talk about a specific gecko that I kept for a long, long time. That was my favorite, but this is my favorite species. So I talk about crested geckos, and I talk about leopard geckos. Love them, love them, love them. Love the micro geckos. But this is my favorite type of gecko because there's different patterns and colors. And what we saw from the leopard gecko situation the last 20 years, we're going to start seeing with this gecko with the different colors and morphs and traits and everything. And these guys are absolutely a pleasure to work with because they're easy to handle, they're easy to keep, they're easy to breed. And again, I'll see if we can do this. Trying to move this around so you guys can see it. This is called a Periodora picta, Madagascar ground gecko, ocellated gecko, and this is about adult size. They'll get maybe another half inch or so in length. Some have stripes, some don't have stripes. Reds, oranges, white. I'm working with one I hatched out this year that I've never ever seen one as white as the one that's downstairs. Working on all kinds of different colors with these. So this is my favorite species.
Does it get, and like that's as big as they get? What do they eat?
Anything. They'll eat anything. So I had a puppy dog come downstairs once, and I had a
And
picnic,
ate it?
just gobble it up. Yeah, it was gone.
What about
We used
humidity?
to have 4 kids.
Used to, yeah. What's their humidity like?
This is the cool part. So people will ask, is it arboreal? Is it terrestrial? Is it arid? Is it tropical? And I tell people it doesn't matter. They grow up right on that line between the jungle and the desert. They like to stay underneath things during the day, and they'll travel on, the substrate. And at night, when they're active, they're crepuscular. So in the dusk and dawn, they're on top of cork bark and they're looking around, looking for food. I can go into the room, and if I pass their tanks and I'm feeding the leopard geckos, I work my way toward them. Every single one of them will be out in front, like, come on, why are we last? I call them the little prairie dogs of the gecko world. They're just amazingly cute, but also just so easy to handle and so easy to take care of. Look at those eyes.
Look at those eyes. And this tail doesn't get fat. Like the fat part of the tail that stores food, correct?
Exactly. So this is about it. This is a good example of a striped Periodor picta. I'll put this one away. Some of them have stripes, some of them don't. It's just so fun from a breeder standpoint to work with these. But when we do reptile shows, somebody comes up to the table, they're looking for a crested, we can point them in that direction. Leopard gecko, a rear gecko. But if somebody comes in, I don't know anything about geckos, and I want something easy to handle, but not super big and not super jumpy, we always point them to the Periodora picta.
Ah, picta. Okay. Good to know.
To get back to Emily's questions about specific animals, I had 2 different crested geckos for a long time. One was called Red Bull, and that's where everything that I do is orange or red from a brand standpoint, because I love red crested geckos. Red Bull was an animal that we found at a reptile show on a table once, and I just could see the red and brought it home. It was the reddest animal. Until this year, I have a couple that are probably redder than Red Bull was.
Wow.
But Red Bull was with us a long time, and he was the first level of a lot of the reds that we work with. The other animal, and I don't get attached to the animals that much. I try not to.
Yeah.
I certainly don't name them, when they're young, and I know that I'm going to sell them in 4 to 6 months anyways. But we had an animal called Speckles, and I bet you Speckles went to 500 reptile shows, and every reptile show we would have people stopping by. I don't want to buy animals, and I would be like, I don't care. I know what you're here for. And I'd bring out Speckles, and they would play with Speckles for a half hour, and Speckles would go back to, and the next person would come up, and Speckles would come right back. And there were times where with this crested gecko, and we saw the crested gecko earlier that I brought out, I would put the crested gecko on a light, and I'm working the reptile show, and I'm talking to people, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just forgot about Speckles. I'd look over, and he's just like, whatever, whenever you're ready. I'm just sitting here, staying warm by this light. I'm good. Whenever you're ready.
Wow. I'd be scared. I don't even have a bearded dragon that's so chill like I see in the shows. I don't know how you get your animals ready for like public craziness, noise, fingers.
Well, Poppy Seed has gone to a lot of shows, but I can still sense that his first instinct is to run. And then after about 30 seconds, it's like, okay, this ain't working. So I'll just sit here and I'm good. But Speckles would come out, and he would just chill immediately. And I would hold Speckles out for somebody else's hand. And there was no hesitation. You'd walk right over to their hand and stop and sit there and just chill on their hand.
Why is Frank wanting me to get a snake and see how Nanette responds?
Saw that.
Nanette is deathly afraid of snakes.
John Bag of Donuts.
it's a running joke that if I ever bring a snake into this house, Nanette leaves and she takes the credit card, and I don't see either one of them until the snake goes. So
That sounds fair, right?
I think so. I think that's fair enough. So I've got that going for me.
Wow.
Going to all those reptile shows, do you ever get tempted, or have you brought home something? I know not a snake, but anything besides a gecko?
Oh gosh. Oh, great question. Besides isopods, besides things that I'm keeping like isopods, tropical fish, and geckos, I was tempted. I was tempted at the Schaumburg, Illinois NARBC show this past weekend. They had I can't remember the name of them. Long nosed. Oh gosh, what were they? But they were like an anole, and they were just small. They looked like little pygmy chameleons, but they get to be about a foot long. And they're just absolutely not geckos whatsoever. And I was tempted with them. And that's the first time I've been tempted to maybe try a non-gecko in a long, long time. I started with chameleons. So when I first started off, I visited a friend's house in Los Angeles. He had a full size, 6x6 by floor to ceiling cage with Jacksons. So about 5 years after that, I started keeping chameleons and kept the panthers and the Jacksons and the Vales babies, and it was hard because they're so short lived. I got out of the chameleons, started keeping bearded dragons, and then I started keeping geckos, and just kind of changed directions and focused more on the geckos.
What's your biggest seller at these shows? Is it crusteds?
Crusteds. So again, I love crusteds, but I can talk crested geckos all day long. And again, if somebody walks up to the table, my favorite thing, to be very, very honest, is when a family walks up to the table and the kids are like, "Oh, what is that?" And mom and dad just kind of go, it's like, game on. Here we go, folks.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. So I pull out the crest and I get the kids involved, and they're holding it back and forth. And eventually there's, "Mom, Dad, would you like to try holding?" I know and if I get that, no, then I back off. But if I get that, then I come around the table and I stand with them and I say, "How about if you just touch their tail? I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it here. How about if you just touch their tail?" And, half the time they'll do that and go, "Okay, that's enough." And that's cool. A lot of times they'll say, "Okay, I'll give it a try," and they'll hold it. And, here's my thoughts with crested geckos. Once they start handling a crested gecko, because they're so soft and
So soft.
settle down, and it's a done deal. That's the gecko that they get.
Oh, very good.
I have kind of a dumb question. Most of mine are, but we're talking about the beautiful colors on these animals. And we all know with fish that a lot of people like color enhancing foods. I don't particularly, but is there anything that you might add to the diets to make the colors pop on these guys, or no?
Great question. You hit home for me on that question a lot. I am not a color enhancing person whatsoever. So again, with the fish and seeing the neon barbs and stuff in the stores, kind of as a downer. But to know that some of these geckos are eating this pigment enhanced crested gecko diet, it makes me feel like, well, really, what's the true color of this animal? Because if feeding them that pigment, then that's not a good representation of exactly what they are. And I want to know what their true color is so that I know what their babies will look like. I'm not going to feed them these other diets. And I don't know what, these special pigments and everything does to a crested gecko. I know I feed Pangea crested gecko diet, and I know I've done that for years and years and never ever had a problem. So I'm sticking with that.
How accurate is the breeding of this male and this female to what the babies are going to look like?
It depends. It depends. So leopard geckos, it's like 100%. If you have, well, it's not 100%, but you can predict almost 100%. So if I have I'll say a blue leopard gecko and a purple leopard gecko, I'll get, a quarter of them that are this color. And then you have all the hats buried beneath, but you know the percentages. And then you breed back to mom or dad, and then you know the percentage of those.
Okay.
For crested geckos, there's only 2 true morphs with crested geckos that I know of. And all the other ones are kind of a crapshoot. So you have pinstripes like we had a little bit. The small one was called a pinstripe. And I don't know if I can show that one because you see the striping in the, get my face out of it. There we go.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Beautiful.
So thanks for pooping in the cup. So you see the pinstripes, that's pretty predictable, but it's not guaranteed. That's a trait. That's a trait just like, I'm trying to think of a trait in a human being. It's a trait that I think height is a trait in humans, whereas, eye color is more genetic, proven genetic. So I could breed a pinstripe to a full pinstripe to a full pinstripe and get probably all full pinstripes, but I might get something that looks completely different.
Wow. What about a Dalmatian to Dalmatian?
It depends. So if you had a nice light Dalmatian, and bred them lots and lots and lots of spots, you're probably going to get some pretty nice looking Dalmatians. It's like the orange leopard gecko. I breed an orange to another orange. Those are traits. Tangerine is a trait. It's not a morph. And I line breed that I'm going to get some that look exactly like mom and dad. And I'll get a few that don't look quite as good as mom and dad, but I'll get a few that look better than mom and dad.
Oh.
So you're going to get some babies with the Dalmatian that might look better than mom and dad.
So how do you track on your tanks who's the mom, who's the dad, if you have hundreds and hundreds of tanks?
Well, dads have these things behind their legs, and I can tell daddies because there's a big bulge back there. I'm just joking around. So what I do is I have labels made with a male and female, and then as some of the folks like Emily and Frank know, I'm a spreadsheet kind of nerd. So all that information goes into a spreadsheet. I have
like who's the parents, who's the grandparents.
Exactly. So I have a little sticker here. I'll see if that focuses. So God, it's all dirty because it was on the floor. But the sticker has the number, the ID, the date, and that number 1 at the bottom here. That's the parent. So a baby hatches. I write all that information on. It goes onto the tank. They move to a bigger tank. I take that painter's tape and move it to the bigger tank.
Okay.
All of that information, right when they hatch out within a day or two, goes into the computer, and I track it all that way. So when I sell an animal, I have all that information available. I get lots of requests a month or 2 or 6 months later. Hey, can you share your information about the parents, the lineage, the bloodlines? So I send all that information to the buyers.
Yeah.
I'm a geek. I tell you.
I love it. I don't know how you keep track of it. That's awesome.
Well, spreadsheets are the only way I can. I tried this year to do some QR codes. I have one of the geckos is yelling at me. I tried this year to do QR codes and scan with my phone, but I'm still working out some of the bugs with that. So I just went back over to the tape, and the tape works very well for me.
Okay, so if somebody bought a crested gecko, what would be your words of wisdom to this person taking this beautiful animal home?
If I had my little recorder, my playback cassette recorder here, I would just repeat what I say exactly it shows. Get them home. Don't handle them for like a week. Let them settle down. This is a new kind of situation, a new environment for them. And this is crested geckos. Just don't handle them. And I know that that's really, really super hard, but you want them to adjust to their new enclosure. Feed every single day, every other day, and missed every other day in between, and make sure it's pooping. If it's pooping, then it's eating. Give them just the size of the diet. Just give them diet first, and give them the size of give them enough diet to equate to the size of their heads, because that's the size of their stomach. If you give them this big bowl of Crested Gecko diet, you can't tell if they're eating or not. But if you give them a little, you can see right here again, the size of the head compared to my big fat thumb, there's not a lot of food there. But if you give them that much every other day, you'll notice when they're eating and know that they're eating. After a week or so, week and a half, if they're eating, they're pooping, you can start handling gently on a floor, carpet, let it, jump and let it go, as long as it doesn't go under a sofa or something like that, and certainly not with pets. But that's basically it. No special lighting, no special heat, and you're all good to go.
Awesome. Guys, do you have any other questions? This was a great chat.
Where can people buy your animals at?
SupremeGecko.com. SupremeGecko.com. If you have a question, I'm all over Facebook, both as Wally Kern and Supreme Gecko. I'm on Instagram. For Susie's purposes, I'll learn how to dance and better on TikTok. But mostly, it's YouTube and Facebook.
Okay. No Instagram?
Instagram, of course, Instagram.
Yeah, because those pictures, man, they got it. Those Cresties look so photogenic to me.
Thank you very much.
Especially
and if I may take like 2 more minutes, if I can jump in with something. We do, and a lot of people that have watched my YouTube channel know this, and this is just repeating for them, but we do a special giveaway at the end of the year called the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas Supreme. And we've done it for like 10 years now. The first year I gave away everything. I think I gave away like $200 worth of stuff. This is back 10 years ago. And we've built it up to this year. We had about 80 other vendors, breeders, Exoterra, Zoomed, contribute. I know there's a big giveaway in the fish group as well, but we gave away about $20,000 worth of gifts to the participants of the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. And it's a blessing to see everybody join from year to year, and it's great. Here's what drives me to do this. Because again, it's a one-man show with the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. But it's all about the donors, and it's all about the community, and to see people talk out of this event to each other and building the positiveness of the community is what I really strive for, what I get out of it. So it's fun.
Cool. When do you start that? The 12 days starting on Christmas Day?
We start, excuse me, I need coffee or something. We start usually the day after Thanksgiving. So I like to get through the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday, let everybody kind of recoup and be on that turkey high and jump in. But we usually start the day or 2 days after Thanksgiving, and we'll run every other day. So it gives a chance for us to announce a gift, and then the next day they give it away, or several gifts. And I think we had 150 gifts this year.
Wow.
And we run all the way up to, excluding Christmas Eve, all the way up to the day before. I guess that would be Christmas Eve, because I don't want to interfere with the holidays. Right.
Oh, that's great. I've seen it. I've been on it. I've never actually tried to win because I felt like it was weird, but I'm going to try now.
Try it. Absolutely. It's interesting because this last year we had people jumping in, and at some point I just have to cut things off and not take donations anymore, because it's just keeping up with the donations and trying to update and everything, and then do the videos and giveaways, and it becomes a little bit stressful for me, and it's hard to just manage. So this year we had somebody in the middle message me and say, hey, I want to donate. Well, it's already started and it's hard, but sure. It's hard for me to say no. And they came through with a $1,000 gift certificate to, and this was Flawless Crested Geckos, $1,000 gift certificate to their business.
Nice.
Wow. Phenomenal.
Just unbelievable. I'm beside myself with
Wow.
the generosity of everybody.
That's a huge game changer for somebody who really wants to keep a critter and doesn't have the money for it. Then
Right.
now you're set.
And somebody that wants to maybe move up and get into the actual breeding, and wants one or two nice animals to really kickstart their business, so to speak, or just wants a really nice pet.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'm excited about it this year. Look out, guys. Stand back.
Susie's going to win like every day.
There you
And
go.
the winner on the
And you
11th
win
day
more
is
than
Susie
one?
again.
Ah,
What's
I
that?
I will be there like a troll.
There you go. I would love that. Absolutely love that.
Wally, besides gifts and products and so forth to give away, what do you need help with? What can people donate as far as time and that kind of thing to help you?
I haven't, to be very, very honest, I haven't figured that out yet. I struggle with delegation over this event because everything about it, I want to be very, very positive.
Right.
And so far it has. I think we've had 3 gifts in 10 years, hundreds of gifts that for some reason, the person wasn't able to, for whatever reason, wasn't able to give the gift that they had promised. And a couple of those times I jumped in and just donated from our stuff. But it's hard for me to, I don't know if it's hard to let go, but it's hard for me to find an area where somebody can jump in and help. I guess the biggest thing that I would love is for this event to be shared by everybody that can, to their page, to groups, to Facebook groups.
Well, now we have the RepTales Facebook page. We'll be sharing it there. That's for sure.
November, bring me on and let me talk for like 5 minutes on the event and get more PR. I think it's the more people we get involved, I think the stronger we build this community.
Awesome.
Agreed. That's
Absolutely.
cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And what a joy to talk to you. I mean, you've come on my channel before, and overwhelmingly everybody was like, "This guy's great. This guy's great." Because I had a lot of fish people who hadn't heard of you, and I know they were jumping on your channel and checking you out and stuff. And from this stream, I'm finding out more and more fish keepers that keep reptiles. How great is that? To me, they kind of go together. So I'm thrilled that you came on here and shared some of your wisdom.
It's been my pleasure, and to hear such great words. Just, don't talk to Nanette because she'll balance that right down. She'll bring my rating from the 9, like you said, right to a 3.
Nanette is such a joy. Stop it.
It really is. I'm blessed.
Oh,
Wally, I knew this was going to be good, but I didn't have kind of a fathom of how extent your business is. It's been absolutely fascinating.
yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime I can talk geckos or fish or isopods, I'll talk your ear off. So,
will you come back at a later time with isopods?
It would be my pleasure and honor. Absolutely. Thank you.
I love isopods, roly-polies, wood lice, whatever you want to call them. Love them.
They're a bunch of fun, and I promise with the isopods, I won't let one get on the floor and my family come in and unplug my computer. I promise.
It was pretty entertaining, I gotta say.
Yeah, for you, sure. For me, it was a heart attack. Going down, going down.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. I appreciate it.
Great show. And
Anytime.
All right, and don't forget to come back next week, 7:30 Eastern. I know when Wally said I'll be there at 6:15, I'm like, why so early? And I realized, oh, he's by the Harley Davidson, way out there. So I was like, that's right. But we do 7:30 Eastern. Well, you can always find the link on our Facebook page. We're trying to grow our Facebook page. It's like a common, all 4 of us can get on and edit and comment and respond and share pictures. And don't hesitate to share pictures of your critters and tell us some of your tales from your reptiles. We'd love that.
Who's the guest next week?
Next week is Jay-Z RepTales.
All right.
Oh.
But Wally, do you have any final words?
Again, it's a pleasure. I thank everybody that has stopped by from watching our YouTube channel. If you're not familiar with the Supreme Gecko YouTube channel, go over there. I think I have about 10,000 subscribers. Tonight, I want to be at 20,000. So everybody that's watching this, jump over there and subscribe, and let's get it to 20,000, folks.
Here we go.
Panel?
No, I'm thrilled. I am so I'm on a high right now. I'm on a cloud 9. Is that what they call it?
All right.
Great show. Want to thank our moderators, everybody in chat, everybody that's watching this over on Facebook, lurkers, replay crew. Appreciate you all coming out and joining us again. Like I said, next week will be our special guest would be Jay-Z's RepTales. He's mostly a colubrid snake keeper, breeder. So that'll be interesting. Let's see. Did I forget anybody this week?
Wally, be sure and have Nanette watching next week.
As long as it's on the other side of the screen, she's fine with snakes.
So,
Awesome.
thanks everybody for coming out. We'll see you next week. Love y'all.
Thank you, Mike.